Our next seasonal banner is for June brides in May. The Bridal Beloveds Banner for 2020 features Rafiel, Nailah, Oboro, and Duo Micaiah Sothe. For these happy couples, we'll be talking about their stats, skills, and overall general playstyle with build ideas. For this banner, our 4-star focus unit is Rafiel, who does have some neat things going for him. If you get him at 4 stars, you won't reset your 5-star focus pity rate, and as a reminder, the free pick mechanic is not active for this banner. As you may be able to tell, Rafiel is the older brother to Raisin and Leanne. He may be a Heron dancer like his siblings, but Rafiel has some issues flying, which is why he is an infantry unit and not a flyer like Raisin and Leanne. When he transforms, he will not get 3 movement, he will instead have the infantry beast bonus of plus 10 damage on special procs. For stats, Rafiel has 38 HP, 28 attack, 35 speed, 20 defense, and 41 resistance. As a dancer, stats aren't typically super important, but Rafiel does have good speed, which is nice for avoiding doubles. His attack and defense aren't great, but he probably won't be your frontline unit unless you need to take down a red foe. Now, what is really outstanding for Rafiel is his 41 base resistance, and he gets a res super boon too. That is actually very impressive for a 4-star focus unit, and even just having one copy of this guy could be useful since many support skills operate on comparing res stats. 41 res ties for highest in the game, and Rafiel can boost that a tad bit higher. For old skills, he's going to have Sing, which is natural. He comes with Firestorm Dance 2, which grants plus 3 attack and speed to the target Rafiel sings. He also has War Beast, which grants plus 4 defense and res to beast allies. Not the most exciting set of skills if you were looking for some general purpose fodder, but War Beast is only on 5-star units currently, so if you're making a tanky beast emblem team, this is probably your best shot at getting this C skill. For his weapon, Rafiel has Groom's Wings. It grants a flat +3 resistance, bumping Rafiel up to 44 res, which is actually just insane. Its other effect is that on turn 1, grants special cooldown count -1 to Rafiel's support partner, if any. Groom's Wings is basically a toned down version of Valoria's Wolf Pup Fang, but Rafiel is a dancer, so it's a really nice effect if you have a certain ally in mind. It can make Gale Force builds work much smoother, or it can help our Special Spire users get to their peak performance faster. Since Rafiel is an infantry unit, he can also run Infantry Pulse, although his lower HP stat means he'll only be able to target other low HP infantry units. He does have room for some HP increase in skills though. As a dancer, Rafiel's main goal is to support his teammates, so you can give him seals like Distant or Close Guard to stack with Ward Beast. He can of course also run Wings of Mercy to be in the right spot at the right time. Since Rafiel has such ridiculously high base resistance, he should be relatively okay if attacked by a major dragon. You can have some fun by fully investing in extra res from skills like Fortress Res or Warding Stance. Iceberg or Glacies are of course the specials to go for. In terms of support abilities, like we mentioned, Infantry Pulse is a possibility, especially if Rafiel's partner is an infantry ally. He can give them 2 cooldown on turn 1. If you want stat debuffs, then Sabotage and Ploy skills are great options too. Fury 3 or Fortress Res can bump up Rafiel's visible res stat to debuff even the higher res foes. It will take some investment, but you can turn Rafiel into a fun support unit. Now for those that want a dancer who can do some damage, remember that when transformed, Rafiel gets an extra 10 damage on special procs. That means an Iceberg or Glacies is really gonna hurt a lot, and as an infantry unit, you could give Rafiel cooldown skills like Steady Breath or even Wrath 3. Not saying I would recommend doing that, but hey, it's there if you really want. Overall, Rafiel isn't as mobile as his Heron siblings, but with cooldown reduction for an ally and one of the highest res stats in the game, he does have some uniqueness even as the 4-star focus unit. He can be useful with little investment too, so I would definitely keep at least one copy. Up next we have Rafiel's partner, Nailah. She's back, but this time as a green beast infantry unit. For stats, Nailah has 40 HP, 35 attack, 41 speed, 31 defense, and 25 resistance. Pretty dang good stats, mirroring our flashy fast sword users. Nailah will have speed and resistance super boons, and either one isn't bad to have. Last time Nailah came with a more defensive kit, but this time she's ready to go on the hunt. For old skills, Nailah has Moonbow and Swift Sparrow 3. We see these skills a lot, and you can't really go wrong with either of them on a super fast unit. For Nailah's unique weapon, Bride's Fang, we have a bunch of interesting stuff going on. First, it accelerates specials. Then at the start of combat, if the foe has more than 75% HP, inflict -5 attack, speed, and defense on the foe during combat. In addition, if Nailah's special triggers before or during combat, and she attacks, she gains special cooldown -1 after combat. Like Rafiel, Nailah has the Beast Infantry bonus, so she gets plus 10 damage on special procs when transformed, and Nailah is going to be doing a ton of special spamming. She basically has a slang weapon with a mini special spiral effect that is pretty nuts. Be warned that the mini special spiral effect is also tied to the enemy's HP condition, so if Nailah takes down a weakened foe, she's not going to get -1 cooldown afterwards. Because this effect checks HP at the start of combat, you also can't use AoE specials because it's going to chunk the enemy's HP before combat, which would then not activate Bride's Fang. Now, naturally, special spiral in the B slot is a consideration because Nailah could get back 3 cooldown after every single fight, and she already accelerates the special. We'll come back to this in a bit, but I'm sure you can see how out of hand this weapon can get. While not a new skill, Nailah does come with her personal Glare C skill again. Basically, after combat, if Nailah attacks, she inflicts gravity on her target and foes within one space of that target. With Glare, Nailah can lock down close-knit teams, especially if you reposition her afterwards. It's not a huge game changer, but you do need to be careful since that restricted movement can script your plans. If you face Nailah, it's something to keep in the back of your mind. Now, for Nailah's B skill, she introduces Chill Speed and Defense 2. At the start of the turn, inflict -5 speed and defense on the foe on the enemy team with the highest speed plus defense total. Another dual chill, and while I don't have an issue with these skills, they don't seem to be the hottest B skill options. It's fine on a support unit, but many units want that B slot freed up for other powerful combat skills. Overall, Nailah has a very scary weapon in Bride's Fang. Against mostly full HP foes, she inflicts in-combat debuffs and can work on recharging her special for the next fight. Special Spiral is going to be a big skill here because with Bride's Fang, Nailah can actually fully recharge 4 cooldown specials after every fight. Instead of settling for Bonfire or Luna, she can actually go for Dragon Fang, Ignis, and Astra. That is pretty wild, and it's not the hardest thing to set up. You just need to get the first special activated while fighting a foe with more than 75% HP. If you pair Nailah with Rafiel, he can reduce her cooldown by -1 on turn 1, and he can run Infantry Pulse too. When Nailah is already good attack and speed stats plus 10 extra damage on special procs, she can generate a ton of firepower. You can run low cooldown specials like Moonbow if you aren't running Special Spiral, but there is kind of a poor man's budget setup to replicate the 4 cooldown recharge. Once she does proc her special, it would go from a 3 cooldown to 2 cooldown. Then if you run Desperation with Flashing Blade, Nailah can charge her special on the first hit, then unleash it on the second hit. With her high speed, Swift Sparrow 3 and her -5 speed debuff, you should have a good shot at doubling, and this is only going to be stopped by things like Guard or Hardy Bearing. The beauty of running Special Spiral is that the 4 cooldown special can recharge entirely, so Guard becomes a non-factor, and Nailah doesn't need to double. To showcase the power of this setup, if we use Swift Sparrow 3 and the Swift Sparrow Sacred Seal, Nailah would have 62 attack on initiations. Dragon Fang takes 50% of 62, so it deals 31 damage, and when transformed, Nailah adds another 10 damage for 41 damage just from the special alone. If you instead run Sturdy Impact with Sturdy Blow and Ignis, she deals even more damage. It's a little insane as long as you can get it going. Now, what about Aether? It would be on a 4 cooldown, so if you ran Special Spiral plus Bride's Fang, that would bring it down to 1 cooldown after the first activation. If Nailah tanks a hit, she can return Aether right back. Bride's Fang opens up a crazy amount of build options, and I didn't even really talk about using 2 or 3 cooldown specials. As a reminder, beast units can't run everything, and while Nailah has a lot of infantry skills to choose from, she can't run Close Call or Repel, and she can't use Ruptured Sky. Regardless, Nailah still looks like a really fun unit. She's crazy fast, and you just can instead opt for a one-shot type build with Special Spiral and high cooldown specials. She is asking to be run with Rafiel to get the Special Spiral spam going, and once it starts, you're not going to want to stand in her way. Our third bridal unit is Oboro. She's a sword infantry unit with 42 HP, 39 attack, 35 speed, 40 defense, and 16 resistance. Definitely not the typical sword unit stat line, but Oboro is sacrificing resistance for some beastly attack and defense. She's only behind Arden for highest defense out of all sword units, and she has the 3rd highest attack too. 35 speed isn't super crazy, but it's enough to work with if you want to invest in speed. For some comparisons, Bridal Oboro is close to units like Brave Alm or Shannon. She's gonna be a monster physical damage brawler, but a major dragon can definitely take her down. For old skills, Oboro has Rally Attack and Res Plus to give an ally +6 attack and resistance for a turn. She also has Attack and Defense form, which can grant up to +7 attack and defense if the user has 3 allies within 2 spaces. For someone with damage based attack and defense, it can be a lot of fun to go even higher by stacking more. Speaking of which, Oboro has an inheritable sword called the Pledged Blade Plus. If a bonus is active on unit, grants attack and defense +4, and special cooldown charge +1 per foe's attack during combat. Alright, we have a couple things to discuss. First, we have a new condition, Warding. A bonus can refer to a stat field buff or a positive status effect. This makes Pledged Blade basically a stronger version of last summer's Sandford Spade, which grants +4 attack and defense if the user has a field buff on them. Pledged Blade is easier to activate, and it also grants special cooldown charge when the user gets hit. This weapon is actually very similar to Rinka's Club, albeit a somewhat weaker version. Having special cooldown charge +1 on a weapon is super useful, and even if it's only active when the enemy hits the user, you can use Heavy Blade to get the +1 special charging on all attacks. This weapon will mainly be activated through a field buff, so you have to be careful of effects that neutralize buffs like low skills. If you can get a status effect like Armor March or Annette's Rally Movement, then that is a lot safer to guarantee Pledged Blade Plus always activates. Now for Oboro's B skill, she has Odd Pulse Tie 3. Basically, if you know how Even Pulse Tie works, this is the exact same skill, but it procs on odd number turns. On odd turns, if any foe has less HP than the user and that foe's special is ready, inflict special cooldown count +2 on the foe with the lowest HP with special ready. Remember Nailah's crazy special spiral possibilities? This skill is there to mess that up, and can counter infantry pulse type team setups as well. If you run into issues versus those type of teams in PvP modes, odd or even pulse tie can help you out. Regarding Oboro as a unit, Rally Attack and Res Plus and Odd Pulse Tie aren't anything special. Both of these skills can be used on any other units, but you can keep them if you so desire. To take advantage of Oboro's crazy high attack and defense, you definitely want to continue stacking defense to wall off physical damage threats. With Pledged Blade, we can refine it for extra defense, and it does require a bonus of some kind. You could run double wave buffs, you have speed and defense Oath from Mini Marth, and Rouse speed and defense can come from a spare Ferdinand. With the weapon active, Oboro can counterattack with 2 cooldown specials instantly, but unfortunately if you want those juicy Bonfire or Ignis specials, we're gonna either need a follow-up attack or other special cooldown reducing skills like Times Pulse or Heavy Blade. If you want to go down the road of pure physical damage tanking, I would try to get Guard for Oboro, which can come from tier 3 dual stance skills. She could take advantage of Sturdy Stance 3 or Steady Posture 3, and while Quick Repose is an option, you can also just run other fun skills like Wrath or a low debuff. If you want a more balanced tank, then Oboro can adopt the Lucas strategy of building for extra resistance entirely. She can use the Barrier Blade, refine it for even more res, and we have skills like Warding Breath or Close Defense. While Oboro has some neat stats and a fun weapon, there is just so much competition among sword infantry units. I think you can have a lot of fun building her, but there are just some crazy units like Shannon who share a similar stat spread with his own unique weapon and Regno Astra. Our last unit for this banner is Duo Micaiah Sothe, dressed up as the bride and groom. This couple is going to be our second colorless home unit, and like Brave Micaiah, this one is also a flying mage. For stats, Duo Micaiah has 39 HP, 39 attack, 20 speed, 19 defense, and 38 resistance. Pretty standard affair for Micaiah as a somewhat min-max unit based around attack and res. This Micaiah does drop speed quite a bit though, and with only 19 defense, she's pretty much a sitting duck if any melee physical attacker can get to her. Thankfully, with fire mobility, 2 range, and 39 base attack, Micaiah's ain't gonna make it easy to just walk right up to her. Being colorless, she also has neutral matchups versus everyone, minus Raven Tome users. For old skills, Duo Micaiah comes with attack and res push 4 for +7 attack and resistance when above 25% HP. She will take recoil damage after attacking, but that's okay because she also comes with Mystic Boost. This skill will cancel out attack and res pushes, recoil damage, so Micaiah won't weaken herself over time. Mystic Boost will also axe adaptive damage and Wrathful Staff effects, so Micaiah gets to use her giant res stat to tank dragons, and offensive healers will get their damage cut in half. For C skills, she comes with attack and res Oath, which grants +5 attack and resistance for 1 turn if next to an adjacent ally. This self-buffing ability will be important to have around. Micaiah's tome is the Joyful Vows, and if you've used any other Micaiah, you know how this is gonna go. Joyful Vows is effective against armor and cavalry units, plus it grants a flat +3 attack. If a bonus is active on Micaiah, she will also gain +6 attack and res during combat, and if she is initiating, she can prevent a follow-up attack. A rather simple weapon, but if you dislike armor or cavalry units, well then Micaiah is going to wipe them right off the map. Now, unlike her other red, blue, and green versions, as a colorless mage, Duo Micaiah will be able to indiscriminately nuke any type of armor or cavalry unit. She won't get an advantage, but she also isn't at a disadvantage, which may be more important. Basically, if you thought regular blue Micaiah could handle blue army units and cavalry units just fine, then colorless Micaiah should be able to handle all colors fine for the most part. Effectiveness damage is pretty insane since it scales with the attack stat, and Duo Micaiah has so many ways to pump that number up rather easily. Things get even crazier thanks to Micaiah Sothe's dual skill. It grants dominance to unit and allies within 3 columns, centered on unit, and it also inflicts -7 defense and res on foes within these same 3 columns. So dominance is a brand new effect, and it says unit deals additional damage equals total penalties on foe for 1 turn. Oh boy. At first, dominance looked to be the same effect as Gunther's Blizzard Tome or the Bridal Fan, where it has a reverse blade to mobility. However, dominance is slightly different because instead of adding extra attack to the user, it really does just add true damage instead. In the end, the results are similar, but it's important to know these slight differences. So if Micaiah attacks an enemy, she also hits with -7 defense and res, she can actually just get +14 true damage on top of her normal damage. Because it's true damage, it can work with AoE specials, and remember this dominance buff is given to all allies within 3 columns. If you pair it with Gunther or a Bridal Fan user, then they get to double dip on any debuffs on the enemy. For example, if you're using Bridal Fan Sothe and he gets the dominance buff, if Sothe attacks an enemy with -7 defense and res, he gains +14 attack from Bridal Fan, and then gains +14 true damage thanks to dominance. This is a super nasty combo, and if you run the close counter plus advantage set, you can definitely just clean house in 1 turn thanks to this dual skill. Imagine stacking this with Legendary Eliwood's bonus doubler buff on a Blato mage, or pairing Duo Micaiah with an AoE special spammer, who now gets even more damage on the AoE special. I think this is a really strong dual skill, and if dominance doesn't get shared onto other units, it could make Duo Micaiah Sothe pretty strong just in terms of support capabilities. Before moving on, I just wanted to comment on Sacrifice. This is Micaiah's personal sys skill, and it's a combination of Harsh Command plus a healing ability. She can get rid of any stat debuffs for an ally, and she's going to heal them for the exact amount of HP they lost. Micaiah will sacrifice the same amount of HP in return. So while Sacrifice is neat, it doesn't exactly play nicely with attack and res push. The push skill requires you to have more than 25% HP, so you don't want Micaiah to heal an ally for more than 75% of her own health, otherwise the push skill is no longer going to activate. It can be useful for healing small amounts of damage, but just be careful. For builds and playstyles, there's not really a lot to unpack here. If you know how the other Micaiahs work, this one's going to do the same things. If you can activate every skill in Duo Micaiah's kit, including Joyful Vows, Attack and Res Push, and Attack and Res Oath, she already hits 74 attack and 56 resistance. You can then add on something like Death Blow plus her dual skill. Just with the dual skill dominance plus the -7 defense and res debuffs add another 14 true damage, and the enemy lost 7 res anyway. Just a disgusting amount of damage potential in a single turn, and it could definitely be enough to one-shot non-armor and cavalry foes. If you do see an army unit or a cavalier, then Micaiah is probably going to blow them up with ease unless it's a super high res unit. Even then, you're going to have dominance and the dual skill to push through those resistances. Assuming Micaiah is one-shotting most enemies, she's going to stay healthy thanks to Mystic Boost, cancelling out the push skill's recoil damage. Since Micaiah needs a bonus on her for Joyful Vows to activate, I would just keep Attack and Res Oath on hand. Some alternative skills could include Attack and Res Solo, but again, if you keep Mystic Boost, the push skill isn't too much of an issue, unless Micaiah actually gets hit. Sturdy Impact could be used if you want the extra defense, although unlike Bramimon, Duo Micaiah doesn't have built-in follow-up attacks, so it's mainly just to survive a straight distant counter or dagger hit. If you want to further capitalize on dominance, she can run Sabotage Attack or Sabotage Speed to add another -7 debuff to the enemy team. The same goes for Ploid debuffs. If you want to be more mobile, there are flyer mobility skills like Flyer Formation and Aerobatics, and these can both be used as Sacred Seals to preserve the Mystic Boost B skill. Overall, Duo Micaiah Sothe are here to nuke armor and cavalry units while tanking magic damage like champs. pretty similar concept to all Micaiah ults, but this time Sothe brought along his broadly fan build to assert dominance on the enemy. A fun unit for sure, and I can't wait to see the dominance buffs team setups that are gonna happen. That's all we have for this banner breakdown, quite a bit to discuss for this year's bridal units, and let me know if any of these units interest you. For those not summoning, we have Groom Rafiel as the upcoming Tempest Trials unit. We'll talk about him in a couple days when the event drops. For me, while I would love to get Duo Micaiah Sothe to mess around with dominance, I may fall back on the Fallen banner. I summoned a little bit on it already, and I may take advantage of the free pick mechanic. It's a very tempting offer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.